Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Rogue Scoundrel build for Sebille in Divinity Original Sin 2. Now she actually has some pretty crazy damage. I like going with a dual wielder setup for this build as we got a lot of different options that are pretty synergetic together. We got our Rupture Tendons here, which is nice because this goes through any type of physical armor. So typically we want to set up with a move like that and get them to move around. Even funnier when we can strip their armor and then use Chicken Claw as they'll run around as a chicken taking damage over time. With moves like Sleeping Arms able to shut down physical attackers and also things like our Cloak and Dagger for mobility. We got a lot of different options here. We're going to be mostly building around Warfare though. That is a very powerful skill in Divinity Original Sin 2. And what's great about this is we can actually get our backstabs off on these attacks too. And obviously Adrenaline being one of the best skills in the entire game. We can roll with our 6 action points here from our Glass Cannon, which I think works really well on this setup. Backlash being one of the best ways to set up because we can go ahead here and get our backstab damage off. And then we're in prime position to start off with some like Rupture Tendons and things like that. Then using something like a Flurry here with our 3 action points, we can hopefully strip down physical armor we weren't able to. And if we're ever out of position, we can always just do another backslash there and get into a proper position. And now that we have their shields down, we can move forward to something like a Battle Stomp here, which is really great because then we can knock the target down, giving us some pretty easy shots. And if against a melee attacker, we got Sleeping Arms again, just to be able to get rid of their weapon, which makes them very weak. We can also mix in some Necromancer because of Flesh Sacrifice here and Adrenaline. We can pop this, get ourselves a Blood Surface below us, and then also get Adrenaline here for another 2 action points. We got Crazy Burst damage, which is a pretty crazy synergy because then we can use Bloodsucker here to get our health back, which is awesome. And yeah, this is really good because we are a bit less in damage and just we have Glass Cannon on, so enemies end up attacking us here. So it's nice to have that sustain on top of any life steal that we may have. And yeah, this is a pretty powerful build overall. So for our attributes here, Finesse is going to be obviously the main skill we'll be focusing on here. Now, there are some good strength-based options, and I'd only recommend speccing into 12 strength here to use some of the armors around level 10 here, because Finesse is just going to be your best damage option here. I also like to have a bit of memory as we do have some skills that we want to have. There's others like the Rangers that just use special arrows. We want to have a bit of our memory boosted. You can put a couple points into Constitution later on, but I think it's best to just pump up our Finesse as much as possible. Take the 2 points out of Strength here if you're going to be going without any gear that requires it. It's mainly just for that, but if you can even get gear that has a +2 to Strength, you can use Clear Mind, get that Strength up, equip the item, and then you're going to be able to keep it equipped. So mostly in on our Finesse. As for our abilities here, this is another one. Warfare is just the best skill in the Divinity Original Sin 2 because it makes our physical attacks increase in damage. Scoundrel Will 2 as it gives us an increase to our critical hit modifier and increased movement speed, and that movement speed actually scales very well if we use the pawn, but I'll get to that in a moment here as a talent. Scoundrel's good, but it's mostly just used to unlock the skills. So whenever you get a skill that you want to unlock, you're going to take obviously your Scoundrel up to that. I got a +4 from gear. The only reason I have 1 point in this is you have to use it to take the pawn talent, so I wouldn't even use it there. You want to have at least like 2 points in Arrow Thurge here, but if you can get it from gear, that's great too. And we're going to want to have some points into Polymorph. A lot of these skills actually benefit us greatly, so my ideal split would be to pump up your Warfare as much as possible. Scoundrel, put a couple points into it just to get skills. I'd honestly recommend just 2 points at the start of the game, and then put most of them into Warfare as that's going to be your general damage. Scoundrel does hit your critical hit modifier and puts it up a little bit higher. If you can get backstabs off on every attack, Scoundrel will be good, but in general, Warfare ends up being better for your overall damage. You can also put points into dual wielding here, but I think that's a better option later on in the game where we want to get some very important skills to set up and get our Warfare up as high as possible. And you can put like either Lore Master or Sneaking on this for our civil abilities. But as for talents, there's a few really good ones here. Now, I mentioned the pawn. This is honestly, I like to have Executioner on most classes. You think Executioner would work well in a Rogue Scoundrel build. However, I do think that the pawn is great because we get that extra movement speed, and this gives us 1 action point worth of free movement speed, which is, again, boosted ahead even further. Setting up as a rogue is kind of our big thing, and being able to use Backlash to get into position is nice. If there's a target far away that we want to like shut down, typically we're going to be going after spellcasters and trying to silence them in some capacity, so the pawn can be a really good move, ability to get into position, and then we can use our other action point generating abilities to get that extra oomph of damage. But I do think that this is one that we want to have. This or Execution, you need to have at least one of those. Now, Opportunist is really nice because we're going to get in position often to do these attacks. I personally like it, but it's not one that you do need. I also have Mnemonic here, which gives us 3 additional memory attribute points, which I just had the build kind of set around this. You can put more points into your memory attribute here if you wanted to. I just went with this one here because I do think we are Likely just wanting the pawn and glass cannon are kind of the main talents that we'd like to have here. This gives us the maximum AP, so we get an additional attack, 2 AP more, but physical and magic armor does not protect us from statuses. This does make the enemies kind of walk towards us, so I do think, and target us with their attacks, it makes them just more on our case in general. So I do like to have some of our ability points in the air thirds there so we can teleport around a little bit more freely. We want to have as much movement as possible. Now, if you're going to do a solo build, this is actually a really good one because of how quickly you can get in and out of combat. You'd also be using the lone wolf here, but this is actually like a pretty, if you had lone wolf on this, it'd be pretty crazy. Gorilla's nice too if you want to base your playstyle around this, because when you're sneaking, it'll increase the attack damage by 40%. Doesn't apply to skills. Most skills, it's just going to give you an attack damage boost, which is kind of nice, but I also think that Hothead's great if you're not going to use the glass cannon, because this will give you a 10% extra critical chance and 10% more accuracy, which is nice to have. Leech being another skill that's really good, because this will just give you a passive heal, and we have a few ways to make ourselves bleed pretty easily. Parry Master is another choice, giving a 10% dodging while you're dual wielding, which just will reduce your overall damage that you end up taking. It's not crucial, but it can be useful. And the Torturer talent is also a very useful one, as whenever you use this, certain status is caused by you're no longer blocked by magical or physical armor. So this can be good just to bypass some of those resistances there. It's nice. However, the Torturer ability or talent does work a bit better with like a Pyro Mage or anyone that's going to be using the Worm Tremor ability. So it's nice on this build, but I don't think it's an essential one. And What a Rush is kind of a funny one, because I find that in melee range, especially with the glass cannon, we're going to be going down on health often. This gives us an action point maximum increase by 1, which gives us 7 per turn. It's a niche pick. Now, as for skills, I think Chameleon Cloak is a very nice one. This basically just lets you turn invisible. Obviously on a rogue, that's something you want, and it's a requirement of Polymorph 1, so I'd like to get this early as possible, but we do have some other skills that we can use alongside this. I also like to have teleportation here from Aerothurge. This is just a good one for, again, moving around, as we do need to have some options. Honestly, those are Scoundrel skills will be our best. Cloak and Dagger is a great teleport with requiring just Scoundrel 2. This is when you're going to be getting early on in the game, and it lets you teleport around, 1 action point cost, so it's obviously a bit better in teleportation, but that's more so if you need something seriously bad to get away from a fight. Backlash can be another skill that we want to have, requires a dagger, Scoundrel 1, and it just lets you teleport to the back of an enemy and gives you a critical hit attack. This is obviously one of the best Scoundrel skills in the game. Alongside, I guess the other best one is Adrenaline here, giving you 2 action points immediately. I honestly like to just take this on everybody, because everyone can benefit from getting extra action points. And it does have a requirement of, or you do lose 2 action points next turn, but with the way combat goes in Divinity Original Sin 2, it's good to get that extra damage out quickly. Throwing Knife's just good for a ranged backstab attack. Sleeping Arms, as mentioned, is great because whenever you break down physical armor, you can then make an enemy drop their weapon, which is extremely good if they're going to be a physical attacker. And honestly, one of the most important skills here is Ruptured Tendons. Does pretty good physical damage, and then whenever they move, they take like actually quite a bit of damage as well. So again, this works well if you pair alongside a Chicken Claw, which will then make the enemy move around. This is like kind of a 1-2 punch here. If you got no physical armor, they're going down to this. Spread Your Wings is another good ability, because this gives you ability to move around a little more freely with only a 1 action point cost, and it's for 3 whole turns. I also like to have from Warfare our Battering Ram skill, which lets us run forwards. This is another mobility-based skill, giving us 2 action point costs and does a good bit of damage, and it can knock down enemies. We also have Battle Stomp, same thing, knocks down enemies, and you can get a backstab off of this. And Blitz Attack, which is really nice because this will let you jump between 2 targets. It's not necessary, you could remove it, but it's nice if there's multiple enemies in the area, you can attack a couple of them and sometimes pick up a knockout. Now we do have Break the Shackles, which actually benefits this build quite a bit. If you're silenced or any of those negatives, you can use this just to break free. And then we also have the Flesh Sacrifice as mentioned. I was able to get boots that have Bloodsucker, but this is another skill that you'd want to get somehow, because whenever you have this, you're just going to be able to heal yourself. So you can pop that, get an action point, and then use the action point to heal yourself. It's kind of a weird combo, but it works, and it gives you a bit of extra sustainability when you may need it. And then you can also use some other skills here. Sawtooth Knife is also a nice one. I'd recommend having it on here over something like Blitz Attack or even the Spread Your Wings, because whenever you have this, it's going to pierce through the enemy and just deal physical damage to them. And if the target has no physical armor, it's going to end up causing bleed. This is just a really powerful ability to have, and one that you'd want to have normally on your skills. I just have it from a weapon. And then also got the Flurry there. These kind of are all working together, give you a pretty good amount of damage off of just items, whereas all these skills here are also very effective. Fan of Knives is another skill that's really nice if you had the memory slots to be able to afford it, because it hits in an area of effect and it does critical hit damage. I also like Skin Graft here if you need to. It can remove all cooldowns, so that's obviously quite good. Heart of Steel is another good one, which will give you more physical armor if you need a bit more sustainability. Phoenix Dive is another actually pretty useful one if you need to teleport to an area and it'll leave fire surfaces. Crippling Blow's okay early on, but it just loses effectiveness as you get through the game. Now with our items, we're going to want to favor our Warfare skill, but if you can find anything with Scoundrel, it's good to have it because obviously Scoundrel impacts our critical hit attacks. But honestly, the big one we're looking for is Warfare for the main damage. You can get some Necromancer there again for a bit of life steal, which is not a bad idea to have, but Warfare +2, finesse on your gear as well. Some Constitution's great. I got 2+2 Warfare on this one. Dual wielding is another stat we're looking for alongside the critical hit chance, which is not easy for us to get, as two-handed weapons are typically the ones that give a large crit chance. And I got the boots here, which is going to give us the Bloodsucker, and that's something you want to get on your boots if possible. Now for daggers, +1 finesse is always going to be great, and this one comes with lifesteal, and this one comes with silence. They both are silencing, and that's kind of the best one to go for, honestly. I think that's the most crucial part of this, is to find a dagger that has that on it, because we want to teleport basically to a mage and stop them from casting. Mages are very powerful in Divinity Original Sin 2. Any chance we can get to stop them is good. This skill has less abilities, but it gives us the Sawtooth Knife, again, saving us on a memory slot. And then any gear that can also give you wits, which is another very important one, which is going to be good for giving us that critical hit chance and initiative. We typically want to be going first if possible, just because we can teleport to a mage and stop them early on in the initiative order, and then even do things like Chicken Claw, which is good to shut them down too. Now in combat, the pawn is so nice because with this gives you a bit of extra movement speed if you wanted to move around before getting into position here. We're just outside of backlash range, so we can use our cloak and dagger there to get into a more optimal position, and then go ahead with our critical hit attacks. Or if we want to attack through shields, we can use some of the other ones there. I like to get our rupture tendons off just for that damage that's going to go over time. And then what's great about this is adrenaline lets us do some pretty crazy stuff, because then we can pull out and go with one of these abilities that's going to knock them down once we strip the armor, and then we can just even go even harder here. With one action point left, we then have our Flesh Sacrifice, which is great because then we set up a bleeding surface here. If we needed to, we could use the Leech ability we got from the boots. If not, we can then just go with one of our other attacks here, and even like something like Sawtooth Knife, which will apply bleed on that target, doing some damage over time. They took the damage. And then to finish them off, the Backlash here is great because then again we got that critical hit if we don't miss the attack. Throwing Knife's nice too if you're from range, and then you can just go ahead with some normal attacks here. I do want to quickly mention the Chloroform skill here, because you can strip magic armor using this and then try to set the target to sleep, which is actually a really powerful ability. However, the enemy AI will try to wake them up, and they're kind of smart at doing so. And boom, we got the execution off. So yeah, there's a lot of synergy here. I do really enjoy the Bloodsucker from the Flesh Sacrifice there if you need some health in a panic. The Adrenaline plus our Flesh Sacrifice can take from one action point to having 2 full attacks here. So yeah, very powerful. I don't know why, but her cloak always clips through her if you're using the WASD movement mod. So that's just something to keep in mind. But I hope you guys all have a great day. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And we'll catch you all in the next video.